Okay, well, hello there, everybody. My name is Lisa Callahan, and I am the founder of the Women's Emotional Eating Community Support Group. The reason why I'm here and the reason why I am the founder of this group and why I am the coach is because I fixed my emotional eating habits that I struggled with for decades, actually about 3 decades, where I felt like I just didn't understand why the same things that I kept doing over and over and over again just weren't working. So I took a journey of self-discovery and I figured out a lot of the things that were going on underneath the surface of my food, and I was able to fix my emotional eating habits through taking that journey of self-discovery. So now I coach women to identify their invisible emotional relationship with food as well through taking a journey of self-discovery and really being able to tap into the root cause underneath the surface of their emotional eating issues. So today we're going to bring a topic to you that I think is quite interesting. It's called a healthy relationship with yourself equals a healthy relationship with food. And we're going to go into the age-old question: what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So when we really think about this, we have to think to ourselves, is it possible that if you were happier with yourself, if you felt more confident to begin with, if you liked yourself a little bit more, if the old, tape wasn't running through the back of your head telling yourself about how, this X, Y, and Z happened decades ago, like if things weren't already, muddled up inside, if those things could be healed, and if you were able to have a better relationship with yourself to begin with, would that change the desire to have food make you feel better, or manage your stress better, or make you feel like you were getting this this relief, or calm you down from your anxiety? And so a lot of times people will think that they have to actually eat better or exercise or, go on an eating plan or lose the weight first so that then they can feel better about themselves. I actually think that it's the opposite way. I think that if you feel better about yourself first, well, then you won't want to eat all of the junk food to begin with. And this is why, to me, this topic is the most important topic. I have a little quote here that says, often people attempt to live their life backwards. They try and have more things in order to be able to do more things so that they will be happier. And it actually works itself in reverse. If you first figure out who you are and what you're about, what your meaning is, what your purpose is, if you can direct your mindset towards just your purpose in life, not looking better in your clothes, not being able to put on a smile for everybody, but then feeling really ugly and awful on the inside. If you can feel less resentful, if you can feel more compassionate, if you can put on your own oxygen mask first, then trust me when I say you will have a different relationship with food. And so you must first be who you are in order to have what you want. And so when we come into this topic of saying having a healthy relationship with yourself equals having a healthy relationship with food, I want you to understand that really on a surface level, you won't be able to see the connection until you go a little bit deeper. Because on the surface, you might say to yourself, well, I'm sitting here and I'm eating all this junk food every day. How can I possibly have a better relationship with myself unless I break that pattern? But the truth is that until you change the relationship with yourself, you won't be able to break the surface pattern. I mean, you might for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, but it always comes back. You know that it always comes back because you've proven that to yourself over and over and over again. I mean, how many diets have you been on? How many eating plans have you been on? How many times have you hired the personal trainer? I used to be a personal trainer. And even as a personal trainer, I was still struggling with an emotional eating issue, but I didn't tell anybody. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell anybody I was struggling. I didn't even share it with my family. Nobody knew. And so if you think about the relationship that I might have been lacking with myself, understanding that if I just fix that, then food might actually become an afterthought because my first priority would be liking myself. And if I was going to eat a bunch of junk food and it was going to make me feel awful about myself, well, how could I like myself? It was a contradiction. So let's come up with some things that you can do to be able to change the way that you feel about yourself first, so that then you can make changes in your food, right? In your diet. It's not rocket science. Like, you do know that sitting there and eating an entire bag of chips or whatever, like, you know that there's a very big difference between that and doing, a really fulfilling things in your life, and then kind of not even like remembering that food is in existence. And I know a lot of women who are watching today might think, well, Lisa, food's always on my mind 24/7. And you're right. It is right now, because that's the thing that you're focused on. But if you can shift your focus and you can bring it to an inward place where you're not worrying about the calories or the points or your size in your clothes or, all of the things that keep us stuck, right? Those are all surface level things. If we can get underneath that a little bit and understand who you are as a person, who you are as a human being, and why some of the ways that you feel about yourself are there to begin with. Now, you might know your story. You could tell me this and say, Lisa, I know my background. I suffered from abuse. I had this and that happen. My parents got divorced. My husband did this. My kids did that, whatever. You can tell me your story from here until the end of time. But the thing is if you're the one that's retelling yourself that version of your story over and over and over again, and then wanting things to change, you're going to be disappointed every single time. So we have to be able to build a new relationship with yourself, because if you know your old story so well, but then the way that you respond to yourself is connecting to the old story. It's literally like plugging in like like electrical outlet. So you've got your story here. The way that you treat yourself plugs into that old story. So what we are given the opportunity to do in our lives, and I'm saying that it's an opportunity because you are still alive. So as long as you're breathing, as long as you're functional in your head, then you have an opportunity to change the things that are going on in your mindset. With being able to change the things that are going on in your mindset, the way that you are thinking about your old story, the way that you are thinking about yourself, when you're able to change those things, well then, game on. We can actually pick a new direction, and we can steer our lives in the direction that we want our lives to go. Never ever worrying about all the surface things on top, like what we're eating and what our diet looks like, because that stuff will just come natural to you. As you start to build a new foundation or relationship with yourself, you will be able to change your thoughts. As your thoughts change, your purpose in life changes. The meaning of your life changes. As the meaning of your life changes, food will become an afterthought. You will no longer make decisions that have you feeling kind of good in the moment, like when you're about to eat a big thing of ice cream, and then have you feeling later bad about yourself. Like, those two things are a mismatch. So what'll happen is, as you build this new foundation or relationship with yourself, the decisions that you make in the moment will feel good long term. You'll say to yourself, you know what? I don't actually want that ice cream now, because that's not going to serve my best interest. Because later on, I'm going to feel sluggish. I'm going to feel awful about myself. I'm going to feel like I did something, that was hurtful to me. And so you're going to love yourself and like yourself enough to say, probably not right now. At the same time, you're also going to love yourself and like yourself enough to be able to allow yourself to eat whatever you want, whenever you want, if the decision's not going to hurt you. Like, let's say you were out with your family and they were going to go get ice cream. Like, it would actually be hurtful to you at that moment to say, oh, no, not for me. I'm on a diet. I can't eat that. I can't trust myself, because if I take one lick of that, game over. I'm just going to eat the house down as soon as I get home. Like, these on and off sequences inside of your mindset, these are the things that are setups. They're meant to hurt you. And so what we have to do is we have to have you build a healthy relationship with yourself, because the old way is just not working for you. And if it is, then it is. But I don't think it is, because if it is, you wouldn't still be searching for a solution. And I promise you, emotional eating is 100% fixable. This is not an addiction. This is not something that you're going to come into and you're going to say, oh, Lisa, fine, it's not an addiction for you. And so what? You're healed, but you don't have what I have. That's not true. It's not true at all. What my struggle was I couldn't stop myself from eating. I literally was running to garbage cans trying to, get this food out of my hand, literally the whole time, shoveling stuff in my mouth saying, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. And I couldn't even get it. I was like practically diving into the garbage can getting stuff. So trust me when I say this felt like an addiction. It felt the same. I never thought it would go away. I didn't. But because I never thought it would go away, that's what my mindset was telling me. And my mindset told me that I had to keep thinking those things because of my background, because of my history, because of the things that I had gone through. Once I was able to shift the way that I thought about my background and my history, I didn't need the food. It was an afterthought. It was changed. And so that's why I say, if you feel like emotional eating is an addiction and that you cannot change this, ask yourself why you want to believe that. And ask yourself, hey, if I didn't have to believe that it was an addiction, if I didn't have to believe that I will always have to be worrying about this, what else could I think? Just think about that. Ask yourself, if I didn't have to believe that this is an addiction for me, what else could I think? Start to rummage around with some new thoughts, because if you keep the old thoughts, right? If you don't change the relationship with yourself, if you're the one that's standing in your own way, then you'll be standing in your own way. Nobody can pick you up and move you. You have to move you. That's up to you. Now, you'll have to do it with help. You'll definitely require support. But what you'll end up doing is you'll end up changing the energy that you have inside of you. And so what'll end up happening is that you'll be drawn towards things that are going to take you towards your new destination. Meaning that if your norm has been to like hang out and, just go to like a restaurant every night and order fast food and do that with friends, as you start to develop a new relationship with yourself, you're gonna want to change your energy. So you're gonna want to start to shift your direction towards people in your world. Not to say you have to give up your friends. It's just that you're going to want to start to engage with other human beings who also share your desire of newness, right? Because you can't have both. You can't stay stuck in your old past patterns and habits and create a new relationship with yourself. You can't have both. And so let's go over a couple of things. Thing one is that you must start to become aware of your self-talk. If your dialogue in the background, if you do something really good, like you're like, you know what? I didn't order dessert tonight. That's great. I feel really good about that. And then the tape plays, bleep, and the tape is like, yeah, but you're such a loser. Like, whatever. So what? So you didn't eat one dessert? Like, what do you think? You're a superstar now? Come on. You know you're going to have dessert tomorrow. Bloop, 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 bloop. If that is going on in the back of your head and you're kind of feeling like, all right, I did something good, and then immediately the tape plays, well, that's an old tape. And that tape is just coming on as an autopilot. That tape is just a habit. You can cut the tape off anytime you want. From one moment to the next, you could just literally be like, give me this tape. I'm getting rid of this. We don't listen to tapes anymore, right? Tapes are old. You wouldn't play a tape now in your tape player, so why is there a tape playing in the back of your head? So figure out what it is that you want to change, and just know that if you've got an old tape running in the back of your head, well, that's just a habit. And habits are actually just created through repetition. So a habit is also broken through repetition. It's the same exact thing. So the habit was just started through repetition. You did something good, the tape played in the back of your mind. Maybe that came from your childhood. Maybe your parents didn't commend you. Maybe you wanted, to get approval or approval from your parents, and it was just never good enough. But you know what? That's not about you. That's about them. And so now, as you step into this new space, because you're no longer a child, if the tape from your childhood is playing in the background, well, you're going to want to change that. So that is one. Two, don't hide your uniqueness, even if you think it's weird, really. Be who you are, right? Everybody is different. If you want to, I don't know, if you like knitting or crocheting or miniatures, or you like to put ketchup on your steak, it doesn't matter. Like, there really is no right and wrong. There really isn't. Anything that makes you feel like you're weird or you have to hide yourself or whatever, that's, again, it's just coming from an old limiting belief. And if you still have an old limiting belief about something, well, listen to the words, old and limiting, right? Anyone can put self-doubt in your mind. You're the only one that can accept it. So if you've accepted some limiting belief, some old and limiting belief about something, right? If you've accepted that, then again, that's on you. And you are you're capable of changing it. You are capable of changing it. We can't change what happened in the past. We can change the way that you think about it. That's building a new relationship with yourself. The third thing is to show compassion for yourself. I know you've made mistakes in your life. I know that other people have made mistakes, things that have hurt you. You've hurt people. Like, everybody has this going on in their dialogue in their head. But let me just say this. I wrote it here, actually. It's a quote, because you will have to forgive yourself, and you might have to forgive others even, because if you don't, you can't move freely into the future. You just can't. And so if you want to move freely into the future, you will have to have compassion, and that comes along with forgiveness. So forgiveness is letting go of the idea that you can have a different past, and also being able to forgive yourself for things that you might not have recognized were wrong to begin with. So no human being can act beyond their level of consciousness. When you do something that you later realize was wrong, you have to act with compassion for yourself, because you cannot change what you did not realize with consciousness was wrong to begin with. So I want you to really think about this, and I want you to start to open up some new headspace, because if you're going to build a new foundation, a relationship with yourself, which will in turn help you to create a new relationship with food, because if you feel better about yourself and you can let yourself off the hook, a lot of times for me, emotional eating stemmed with guilt. It wasn't guilt for what I was doing on that day. It was guilt for things that happened in the past. And so now that I've been able to let myself off the hook, I know I made mistakes. I made a million mistakes, and I've hurt a lot of people. And I cannot change that. And it sucks. And I've had to forgive people, and people will have to forgive me. And if they don't, then that's on them. I can't change it now. Now I can't change it. What I can do, though, is I can act compassionately to myself, because if I don't, then I'm just going to hurt myself. And I don't want to hurt myself anymore. I hurt myself for decades. And if you're still hurting yourself, then I have to ask you why. Why are you still hurting yourself? It's time to stop. The next thing is don't be a judge. A new relationship with yourself means that you will have to let go of past judgments of yourself and of others. Judging becomes a habit, and that habit allows you to protect your insecurities. So if that's a goal of yours, to protect your insecurities, then be a judge. But if it's not a goal of yours and you don't want to protect your insecurities, then just remember that where judgment is near, when judgment is lurking, fear is near. And so I want you to make certain that you know that anything that you're afraid of is an opportunity to summon courage. And if you don't think you're courageous enough to let go of your judgments, or to forgive yourself, or to move through this piece of the puzzle for your own life, then I want you to remember that whatever fear has placed inside of you, strength, or whatever fear has placed in front of you, rather, strength has already put inside of you. So you are strong enough. You are resilient enough. You are capable enough, and you can move through this. The only way to develop a new relationship with food is to develop a new relationship with yourself. That's it. So I want you to start to get curious about where it is that you can invite, change, really. I want to see where you can give yourself a new way of thinking, a new response to yourself. Because when we can no longer change our circumstances, we are challenged to change our response. The last thing in this is avoid the selfish trap. A lot of times we've been taught that focusing on yourself, focusing inward, looking into ourselves is actually selfish. This has just been something that's been taught. It's been very misinterpreted. And I think that it was misinterpreted by maybe our parents, who it was misinterpreted for them as well. So we're kind of like victims of victims. They didn't know any better. And if they didn't know any better, they didn't know how to love themselves from the inside out. They didn't know how to change their relationship with themselves. Then they couldn't have taught you that. And maybe you've even pass that along to your children. And maybe that's where some of the pieces of the puzzle fall apart for you. Maybe it's like, oh my gosh, I did the same thing. Like I repeated this pattern and this behavior. And so like I said, without conscious awareness, you have to let yourself off the hook, because now you have an opportunity to make changes. And so think about, many of us had childhoods where the words good and bad were used as weapons to control us. It wasn't done on purpose. It wasn't done to hurt us, but it was done. And so this thought process puts us in an emotional straitjacket when it comes to taking ownership of our own thoughts and behaviors, because it limits us into only two ways of thinking. If you did good, you get to be happy. If you did bad, you have to be unhappy. And so many of us stay stuck in this emotional straitjacket, trying to navigate through right and wrong in our own minds based on our own thoughts that we developed in our youth. And so the truth is, it's all malleable, honestly. Your mind is just as malleable as your body. So if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to change your body, you're trying to change your external looks, you're trying to change the external world, try changing your thoughts, because that is where the meat of your subconscious lies. That is where the truth really lives. And we want to be able to make certain that you know that every decision that you make at every moment provides you with an opportunity to move yourself in the direction of your higher self. So make sure that you're not staying stuck in a narrow-minded version of yourself. Make certain that you are opening up your opportunities for a new level of awareness, and that you are inviting newness into your mindset. Because if we're staying stuck in the old and limiting beliefs, if we're telling ourselves that we're addicted to food and we can't make any changes, and this is just how I am, then you are standing in your own way. I invite you to get out of your own way immediately, because this will continue on for as many diets as you go on, for as many personal trainers as you hire, for as many things that you think that you've done to change. If you don't change the foundational relationship with yourself, and you're just going with surface level solutions, it will continue to feel like surface level solutions, and you will keep being stuck in the vicious cycle. All right. Thank you very much. Bye for now.